Hello and welcome to a new video of the Cruise Vibes, and in this video we're gonna see the last days on board of the Ambience of Ambassador Cruise Lines, day 6, 7 and 8. And here we can see our route. Today we're starting in the Hardangerfjord port of Eidfjord, and then we have a day at sea before arriving back in Tilbury. We're starting very early in the morning as I made my ship tour on this day, and here we are arriving in Eidfjord very early in the morning, as I said. And after breakfast it was time to leave the ship and head to our excursion coach that will bring us firstly to a nature center where we can learn a bit about the area that we are in right now. Short bus ride of about 15 minutes in the nature center. We first watched a very nice video, very nice movie, and then we could visit the exhibition, which is like a small museum. You also can see some animals. There are some fish tanks with some local fish. Also you can see some mountain goats, and here you can see them. Actually they have a very nice home because they are living on the roof of a souvenir store. Right next to the nature center is a souvenir store and a small restaurant, and on the roof there are some goats. That is also quite impressive and nice to see. And yeah, we had a bit too much time here at the nature center. I felt like it was about 30 minutes too much, so I was back at the coach quite early and we had to wait a bit. Then we continued on through a very impressive and beautiful landscape, as you can see here. Very impressive. Also the roads are very impressive as we have multiple tunnels. We then drove past our main destination of this excursion, the so-called Vøringsfossen, a big waterfall. But first we went to the Sissendammen, a big embankment dam, where we spent about 30 minutes. On the way there we already saw a few smaller waterfalls, but the big one we will see at the end of our tour. We drove past a small skiing area, of course not in use in summer. There are one or two skiing resorts that are also open in summer in Norway. They are much higher on the glaciers, but this small skiing area here is just used in the winter. And here in the background we can already see the Sissendam. Quite impressive sight. The dam is more than 1000 meters long and up to 81 meters high, and of course it's offering quite fantastic views. On the one side you have the big lake, the Syssen Lake, and on the other side you have down below a very nice landscape. So we had about 30 minutes to walk on the dam, take some pictures, enjoy the views, and then we headed back to the bus to go to our main destination of the excursion, the so-called Vøringsfossen. So the first two stops were quite nice and interesting, especially the dam offers some very nice nature, but of course we booked this excursion to go to the Vøringsfossen, so we were now looking forward to go back to the bus and to head to the waterfall. Unfortunately we did not have too much time there. It was just about 20 to 25 minutes, which in my opinion was by far not enough time for the amazing landscape that you get to see there. There are quite a few viewing platforms at the waterfall, and they are quite far apart from each other, like 500 to 800 meters in between of these platforms, and 20 to 25 minutes it's actually not enough to see all of the platforms. Here you can see the view from the platforms right next to where the bus stopped, but the weather was not perfect, so there were a lot of clouds and the view was not very perfect. So I tried to at least quickly go to all of the platforms, and I was almost running. And as you can see, it was worth it because few platforms are a bit lower, and there we had a much better view because the clouds were quite high. And the furthest from the bus is actually one of the nicest viewpoints. There's a nice bridge over the waterfall. It's quite high, so you should not be afraid of heights, but it is very impressive and a very nice view from there. So I was very lucky that I went there, but unfortunately I only had 5 minutes left until the bus was leaving, and it's about 500 meters to the bus from here, and it's going all uphill. and that is on quite difficult hiking paths, so that was a bit of a challenge to get to the bus on time. Here I'm just admiring the view one last time, and now I had to go back to the bus as fast and quick as possible. I made it back in time actually, but I was completely out of breath because here you can see how the way looks, and all of that is quite steep and uphill. So I arrived on the minute that the bus was supposed to leave, so I was not late, but I was completely out of breath, and that was very exhausting, so a bit more time would have been nice, but still it was absolutely a nice excursion. I was happy that I booked it because the views of the Vøringsfossen are amazing. Just if you're going there to Eidfjord and you have to choose between excursions, and there maybe are multiple excursions going to the Vøringsfossen, I would recommend booking the excursion where you have the most time at Vøringsfossen. The nature center is nice, the Sysundam is nice, but nothing compared to the waterfall. So if you have different excursions to choose from, I would recommend choosing that one where you have the most time at the Vøringsfossen. We are now heading back to the ship, where we arrived at about 12, and that meant that we still had about 3 hours in Eidfjord before leaving and heading back to London Tilbury. So of course there is a small tradition again, at least that's what I did during my last cruises to Norway, and that tradition is swimming in the ocean or in a fjord. I did it in a Svalbard last year and this year, and also I wanted to do it here because I saw that there's a small beach pretty close to the ship. And here we are back at the ship, so after that we walked straight to the beach to have a nice swim. I think you can imagine that the water was still pretty cold, not as cold as in Svalbard, but still it was freezing cold. So of course before jumping in I walked in to get adapted to the temperature, and that was quite of a shock to go in there, but after like a minute you get used to the low temperatures of the water and then you can jump safely. And we actually stayed in quite a few minutes because it was a bit warmer than in a Svalbard where I was swimming when we were there with the Amira, but still it was freezing cold. So after swimming we headed straight back to the Ambience, taking a hot shower to reheat, and then it was time for the last sail away of the cruise, and we can see it here in the time lapse sailing under the Hardanger bridge, and now you can just enjoy this nice time lapse. In the evening it was time for the gala dinner, which was very tasty again, very nice gala dinner. I had 2 main courses because I couldn't decide. We had the typical salmon or fillet, beef fillet main courses, and during the gala dinner we had the amazing sunset, so a lot of people left the restaurant for a second to take some pictures because everybody was dressed up with suits and dresses. So it was a perfect background for taking some nice pictures of the outfits with the sun going down in the background. And of course we also went out to take a few pictures and enjoy the beautiful sunset, as it was the first day of the cruise where we were at the open seas without big waves and storm, but with nice weather, so of course we enjoyed it. After that we enjoyed another evening at the observatory, and here we are already on the second day of this video, which is the last full day and the next day at sea. And as you can see, also on this day the weather was very nice, no waves, even the sun was out. So first we enjoyed nice and relaxed lunch at a Buckingham restaurant. At a day at sea you have a lot of time, so why going to the buffet restaurant where everybody is? Instead you can go to the main restaurant, get a served lunch. You have enough time and it is more relaxed. After that we spent the afternoon at the sun decks at the aft of the ship, mostly to enjoy the beautiful weather, the nice sun for the first time on this cruise. So that was very, very nice, and I was very happy to be on an older ship which has a lot of outdoor areas. On newer ships at the aft of the ship you mostly have balcony cabins, but here you have a lot of different outdoor areas and sun decks, so there was enough space for everybody, even though of course everybody wanted to enjoy the nice weather. Here in the background you can see an oil rig, which we sailed past quite closely, and yeah, soon after it was already time for the last dinner on board, which was nice again. That means that unfortunately this cruise is now slowly coming to an end. On this day everybody was a bit tired, and also the next day we have the disembarkation, so we went to sleep a bit earlier. And yeah, here we are arriving back in Tilbury on day 3 and the last day of the cruise. And soon after docking it was unfortunately time to leave our nice cabin, heading first of course to breakfast. My recommendation for the last day on a cruise is always going to the main restaurant if there is a served breakfast, as it is much more relaxed and almost everybody is going to the buffet restaurant, so there is usually crowded and stressful, and if you're going to the main restaurant you will have a nice and relaxed last day on board. But then unfortunately it was time to leave this beautiful ship, the Ambience. Still, I have to say it is one of the most beautiful ships I've ever been on. We had a blast of a time there, made some very nice new friends on board, had a great time, so it was a perfect cruise, and I can highly recommend taking a cruise on this beautiful ship. But unfortunately for us it was now time to leave Tilbury. We're taking the C2C train again. That will be the topic of the next video, and that means that this is it for the Ambience series. I hope you enjoyed it. Here you can see when the next video will be uploaded and the name of the song. As always, I'd like to say thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please consider to comment, like, subscribe or share the video link, and I hope to see you in my next video.